going to teach you how to paint the heart and the clouds. It's super easy. I recommend buying a pack of these 10 by 10 canvases. It comes in a pack of 8. These are the colors I'll be using. This brand is one of the cheaper brands, so perfect for if you're just starting out. I'll be using palette paper today. You need a cup of water and some brushes. Here's some of the sizes I recommend. And let's get started. My palette is ready. So I mixed some water and some red and brown. So this is just a wash that we're putting on the canvas beforehand. This just helps the paint adhere a little bit easier. I'll go really light with this. Now we want to let this dry. I'm going like this to dry it a little faster. I'm going to show you an easy way to do a heart. I did a circle, make a V, add these 2 lines, and add the humps. Or you could freehand a heart, which is probably what I would normally do. I mixed blue with a lot of white, and I started to paint horizontal streaks onto this heart, because this is going to be where our sky is. I would let this dry for like 5 minutes, because we're going to use some of that blue paint for our clouds. While we wait, let's mix this black, and that's literally just every color, and that's how we get black. And we're going to use this in some areas of the clouds, maybe get a little bit more blue. There we go. Then you can scoop some of this and some of your white. And I still feel like it needs more blue. If it's looking too brown, I added more blue here and a teeny bit of white, and then I added some white here. All right, so I used that darker color to make some cloud shapes. I even have a cloud here that's sort of separated by the slit. I kept that going. And yeah, so the heavier clouds are going to be on this side, our lighter ones here. And since the paint is still kind of wet, we can work into that paint and work into some of this darker shade here because it's still wet, so we can do some blending right onto the canvas. Okay, so I'm going in with that darker color mixed with a little bit more white and just filling in this cloud here. We're going to work in with some white, but let's add that base in there first before we add the highlights. And I'm just using like these really short little strokes to start filling in my clouds. And I'm just going to do that for all of them and just take those little strokes just up and down just like this. So the reference image that I'm working with is a cloud that is mainly on the darker side with just those highlights towards the top. So I'm going to start working with white and start white towards the top and then bringing it as like a little bit of a gradient going down. Let me show you. I'm going to switch to the smaller brush and just pick up some white mixed with a little bit of blue. And I'm just going to start, I think we need whiter than that. All right, I took mainly white and I'm really heavy on this brush, but I'm just going to start tapping it towards the top of this first cloud. And then I'm going to clean off my brush. Now it's a dry brush. I didn't clean in the water, I cleaned it with the rag. And now I am just blending that bottom part down, but keeping it super light on the top. So just kind of blending it in circular motions. Okay, now I'm going over the top with a little more of that white, just dabbing it nice and thick. And not blending with this one quite yet. But let's bring it down here, like this is the top of another cloud. And we'll do the same thing where we just kind of circle it to bring it down. Okay, I'm going back up to this one to just blend a little bit more. Back down to this one to just blend in. So now I'm just sort of using this dry brush to kind of buffer a little bit. It's leaving some texture on the top of these clouds, but also buffering to smooth in some areas. And if you're like me and you can't resist and you want to clean up some of the sky, I just went back in with that blue and white shade and I'm just kind of smoothing it out. So you see the contrast between the blue and white versus the black and white color here. All right, so you want to do that with all of your clouds, and then we'll come back and I'll show you guys how to clean them up and make them look pretty. I will say you're going to kind of want to work fast, because as you can see, this gray is drying here, so now I have to go back with the gray we used before and freshen these up a little bit so that when I'm blending the white, I'll have something to blend into. All right, so here's some things we can do. We can go in with a dry brush again and do some smoothing if we'd like to. We can also go back to our white and add some highlights on some of the peaks and some really nice texture. Another thing, now what I'm doing is going back with that gray and just adding little touches of it under some of the clouds and even blending some of it a little bit higher up. And like I barely have any on this brush, and it's a pretty dry brush to begin with, just so that I'm not adding too much. And I'm really just taking advantage of this dry brushing technique by just rubbing it in. Okay, now I'm going to work back into the background with blue and white and just kind of clean and smooth it up. Remember, horizontal strokes. I'm even going to go back to my smaller brush for this one just to clean up those lines just a little. All right, once you did your blending and you kind of just refilled in the background and you're happy with your flowers, we'll go into the background. I simply mix red and white to make pink. And for that, I'm just doing horizontal stripes, and you can even go in and clean up your heart a little bit with this color. And now you're done.